We'll start the Carroll County Commissioners meeting to order for August 7th. First item is public input. Seeing none, we will move on to review of last week's minutes.
Then it seems good and accurate. Any corrections?
Yes.
Commissioner Babson?
That is the minutes of July 31st.
On paragraph on page 5 or 6, I thought that there should be some note in here that Mr. Brown was concerned that the commissioners, although we're invited guests to the nursing home, don't pay to have for breakfast.
So you're on the last page?
Page 5. Last paragraph.
Okay, so what do you want changed?
I would just like to show that Mr. Brown's concern was the 3 commissioners who are invited guests don't pay for their meal.
Okay, any other questions?
Oh, just a second, please. Yeah, I think we ought to add, also on page 5 in the next to last paragraph, Mr. Steer questions regarding performance review of the commissioners. It's not a performance review of the commissioners, it's a performance review of the commissioner's office.
And it's a performance audit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, audit instead of review, yeah. I think that's all I had.
Okay, so I make a motion to approve the minutes of July 31st as corrected.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye. Aye. And so voted. Do you have any other minutes that we need to discuss or approve at this time?
Do you have minutes, the non-public minutes from last week?
Do we want to address the non-public minutes now?
No, we're just going to read them.
Or you can look at them now?
We should review them now, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Did I get 2 or is there?
No, it's a double
Double
page.
page.
There's 2 pages you have.
Thank you.
Any minor changes to the non-public without disclosing an awful lot?
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
I don't know the process here, but I'd like to suggest that all but 2 paragraphs be unsealed, and that, I don't know how to do that. Do we approve the minutes first and then unseal them, or do we unseal them and then approve them, or what do we do?
I think we can approve them and then unseal them.
Okay, I think paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and and 8 could easily be
Okay, you
be
see
unsealed.
1, 2,
1, 2, 3, 4,
4,
7,
5, 6, 7.
and 8. And the only reason the other 2 I left out is because they're security.
7 and 8, you said?
Yep. I see no reason
I don't
to-
think 8 should be. Take a look at 8 again,
Why?
for security reasons.
Because 7 and
Town
8 is
mention.
security.
I don't think that should be released.
No, okay. I
Go to the town.
I disagree with you, but okay, whatever.
I mean, think about it. Something could be planted in that town,
Oh, yes.
okay?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, you have some,
Yeah, how I was doing the non-public minutes, I like to have this on 2 different papers because we had like 2 different people coming in. So it is easier to release, like the first one we can release, but then we had a second person coming in about security, what we cannot release. So if you have this on a different paper, so it is easier to release.
So every
Instead
person,
of
every
like one,
person,
no, instead of one session.
every person that speaks should have their own minutes. Is that what we're saying?
No.
in
we
most
had 2
cases, it's
different
only
sessions.
1, but in this case, it was 2.
Okay, so we're just gonna separate the one that has the
Security.
concerns?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
What are
that's
we doing,
easy to
Mr.
do.
Chairman?
When 2 people come in to non-public, one's talking about one reason that most of those we can release.
Mm-hmm.
The other one was talking about security,
Okay,
and it's a security
That
one
is how
that
I
we don't
do it.
release.
so what is the question about 2 pieces of paper?
Well, that way it's easier to release them.
Because if
one
I need
whole-
to release
One
it-
whole session is,
Yeah.
can be
Again.
made public, and the other whole session can be held.
That is the way I'm doing it, if we have, if they're talking about the same thing all, I put it on, 1 paper. If they're talking about 2 separate issues, like one
Okay, you make a
security
motion
can
to approve?
release, so we don't release that.
You did.
We did, okay,
Yep.
all right. Now you want to make another motion to release portions of them?
We didn't vote on it yet.
We
Oh,
didn't
sorry.
actually.
Any further
we didn't
discussion
approve
on the
those.
motion to approve?
Who make the motion
Mr. Babson made a motion to approve.
to approve?
I second it. So all those in support of the motion say aye. Aye, okay.
I'll make a motion that we unseal paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, and 7.
Excuse me.
You shouldn't do
1,
it
2,
5.
3, 4, 7, yeah.
And 7.
1, 2, 3, 4, and 7.
Okay.
Would you mark up yours, because when I look at 7, it seems to me that that's something that might be
Security.
security issues. So I just want to make sure that I'm numbering mine the same way you're numbering
The
yours.
7 was the bottom one.
Okay, and we're going to release that one?
Yes.
All right,
nothing to
1,
do
2,
with
3,
security.
4, and 7.
Why would you release 7? Has to do with security too.
I think that's open for public discussion right now, anyway. So we're not doing anything different than what has been done at other meetings.
really no need to keep that.
Okay.
Okay. And did you second, Mr. Sorensen?
I'll second the motion to release those 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7 paragraphs out of the non-public minutes of July 31st. Do I hear any further discussion? If not, all those,
Yeah, excuse me, Mr. Chairman?
yeah?
What about number 6? Is there any reason to keep that non-public? I don't think so.
No, yeah. I think
Let's add that.
6 could be added to that one.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion now? So the motion is to release 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7
Paragraphs.
paragraphs. All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, nay. I assume you voted yes?
Yep.
Okay. Then so voted. For the general public, what this amounts to, let me read the paragraphs that are being released. Mr. Groot and Mr. Chandler discussed the termination of a per diem employee. The commissioners agreed that in termination of per diem employees, they would like to be informed at the commission meeting next held after the event. Mr. Groot and Mr. Chandler informed the commissioners of their intention to review the hiring process in order to minimize future turnover, which is expensive for the county. Paragraph 3, Commissioner Sorensen also asked that the commission be informed when someone is on a long medical leave. HIPAA requirements were discussed and parameters of necessary and appropriate disclosure established. Paragraph 4, Superintendent Johnson reported that he is reviewing 2 policies, namely use of restraints and release of inmates to community work crews. Paragraph 6, Superintendent Johnson then discussed 2 policies for the commissioners to review. The policy addressing inmate admissions with respect to medical issues was discussed. It may need to be addressed with Huggins Hospital. The county's responsibilities for inmates after they are released onto the grounds was also reviewed. Paragraph 7, Superintendent Johnson then reported a change to the PREA standards, which will require 17-year-olds to be housed entirely isolated from all adults, i.e. sight and sound, and its potential impact on jail operations. New Hampshire currently has very limited capacity for housing such inmates, and the Chiefs of Police Association intends to appeal this. However, compliance monitoring starts soon, either 8/13 or 8/14. He recommended that the New Hampshire return to considering 17-year-olds as juveniles, as several other states have done. Okay, let me get back to the agenda.
Now, if I can ask a question about
Go ahead.
that, do you want me to reissue them without the draft? So that you could
Yes.
send a clean copy and in 2 parts? So that
Yes,
you can sign them separately?
Yep.
Okay.
and you can release, put it so that the general public will see what we released,
Right.
okay?
So you're going to, okay.
Okay, anything to report on, any meetings or anything that you've been to or participated in? Seeing one, Will?
Morning.
Good morning.
Mostly for Wendy, I'm just here to help fill in some gaps.
Yeah,
Okay.
one for each person.
Okay.
Morning, Wendy.
Morning, how are you?
Wendy is the county forester for any of those that are in the public.
Thank you for a great job on Farm Day, Wendy.
Thank you. Yes. Weather cooperated again, we've been fortunate.
Boy, wasn't that
because of
beautiful?
So,
You, Commissioner Babson, Commissioner Kenney, I have anything for you.
Thank you.
Okay, the topic, I guess, that we're going to be discussing is a notice of a timber sale that they've been working on for the last year or two. Go ahead, Wendy.
okay, well, as you know, we have a forest management plan for the county property that was written by Peter Pohl back in 2006 that calls for timber harvesting in a variety of different compartments over time. So what you have before you is a notice of a timber sale on about 28 acres that is up behind the water system across the road. The sale has been marked, and what I have a number of questions for you here today, but just to give you an overview of what we're doing with that sale, about 10 to 15 acres of that sale was heavily damaged by the 1998 ice storm. So a lot of the tops were knocked out of the trees. A number of them kept growing, but they're quite poor quality at this point in time. So we're going to be taking out the damaged trees, creating some group openings, some individual tree selection types of openings. At the same time, there's some white pine and red oak that we can harvest, create some openings, leave some seed source, and try to get some regeneration going. And then the last section of the sale, we have some white pine trees just above the communications tower that are poor quality. They came in sort of in an open field situation. They've got a lot of branches, so looking at going through and taking out the worst quality of those trees and leaving.
That goes into pulp.
A lot of it will go into, actually, when you look at the volumes, a lot of that is probably going to be pallet grade logs. So it's not going to be sawlog quality, but hopefully we'll get a little bit better price than pulpwood. Most of the tops will all be pulpwood or chips. So I've put together a draft notice of the timber sale. And,
Excuse me, Wendy?
Yes.
Before you start, so we know on this map, can you answer a couple of questions
Sure.
before we start? What is an outblock?
Outblock is land that the county doesn't own. So if you look at this, the dark green line, that's all county farm property, but there's some privately owned parcels.
Who owns that parcel in there?
Which one?
That's,
Right there, the outblock.
Oh,
that's
One is
the-
Billy Allen, and who's across, that's across the street.
Yeah,
there.
There are a
across the
number of
street from Billy
properties,
Allen.
about
Yeah, okay.
3 or 4 properties across the street there. Actually, probably the courthouse should be taken out of this because it now belongs to the state of New Hampshire, but it's still, I haven't put it in as an outblock yet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I've put together a draft notice of the timber sale, which includes the map as well as some of the prospectus highlights, some of the conditions that we have on the sale. And I wanted to go over those. I've also put together a draft advertisement for the sale to go out in the newspapers. My plan, once everything is finalized, is I have a list of about 250 loggers that the state of New Hampshire uses. A number of them are way over in the western part of the state. What I did the last time in 2010 was go through and you know, folks in Vermont, that sort of thing, I'd take them off the list and not send them the package, but we'll send it out to that broad group to let them know about the timber sale, and then also do the advertising in the paper.
Excuse me again, Wendy, what is the difference between these two?
One would go in the mail to loggers, and it includes basically information about when the timber showing is going to be, and if you look at the
Is that the one-page one, or is that the multi-page?
The multi-page one is the one that would go to loggers.
Okay.
And the last 2 pages of that are prospectus highlights. It basically gives a little bit more information about the sale that you wouldn't put in the bid notice for the newspaper.
Okay.
Talking about the contract period, payment, when bids will be, well, both of these notices will talk about when we'll accept bids through, responsibility for the timber tax, bonds, insurance requirements, how the sale is marked, and then some special requirements that we have for the timber sale, and that's a lot of what I wanted to talk about. Is those special requirements on the back 2 pages. The last sale that we did, we asked all of the loggers to provide a contract price to cut the trees, yard them out to the landing, delimb them, and truck them to the county farm. That's for the firewood portion. We can do that again, or we could, just as a condition of the sale, expect that they leave the firewood for us on the landing. And so the question is, do we want to ask for the contract price? And last time, because the sale was down on Route 28, we did have the wood trucked up to the county where it could be processed. Here, where we're up on the hill, there's a possibility that we could leave it up there and move the firewood processor up there and save the trucking. One of my concerns there is that that's going to be a lot of firewood to have on the landing, that you know, it could become a space issue while they're working the timber sale. So I wanted to ask you whether you want to leave that requesting a contract price in there, and if you do want to leave that in there, do we want to get a price both with and without trucking?
What do you think, Jane?
I think that, that we should go, I think we should make it part of the sale to have them at least yard it and delimb it, basically have it sitting on the landing. But I think we should get 2 prices of either A, leaving it on the landing, or B, also trucking it down here. I would like to try, if it's not too much room space like Wendy's talking about up there, and it's a big savings, I would like to try to leave it up there and we can process it and bring it down this first time, just to see how it goes. If it's a big savings. If it's not going to be a huge savings, you know, why not just have them bring it down here, because it would be a lot more convenient for us. But I think that if we can, I don't know if that's possible for Wendy, but is to have a price on, as part of the sale, have them give it a difference of whether they do the trucking down here or leave it there, would be my suggestion.
When you process it, you load it in a truck anyway, right?
Right, the processor.
Even down here.
Right, the processor loads it right in the truck, so you're gonna be spending more, it's gonna take longer to process, because you're gonna, once you fill
Haul
the
it
truck,
down.
you're gonna have to haul it down versus going 25 feet and dumping it. So there is gonna be a little more time. And this first, we're gonna have, hopefully we're gonna have several sales up on that side. So I'm willing to, if it's a big price difference, I'm willing to say, well, let's give it a try and see if it works out for us. If it doesn't work out for us, we'll know the next one, say, hey, we need a truck down here. If there's a big price difference. If there isn't, it would be a lot more convenient just to have it brought down. You know, I'll be honest with that. But I'm willing, if there's a price difference, to let's give it a shot on this first one and see if it's a big inconvenience or not.
So the area that is there, you'd have no problem getting the processor up there and processing?
No, once, as Wendy's gonna go through some of this stuff, there's gonna have to be some improvements on the road up there to get, their log trucks up there, and if they can get log trucks up there, I'll have no problem getting the processor and our trucks up there.
Okay, go ahead. Well, what do the other commissioners feel about getting a price to truck it down?
I'd get a price both ways. Put it on the landing and bringing it down. They charged something like $30 a ton, $30 a cord last year time to bring them down, didn't they?
I wanna say it was estimated around $30 $30 a cord to leave it on the landing, and it was like 65 to a cord to bring it up to us last time, and that's what we did because it was down on 28.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we want to stick with asking for the contract price then, or just ask them to give us a total? I think we probably want to go with the contract, ask the contract prices if we want it two ways.
Yeah.
Downside of the, and correct me if I'm wrong, Wendy, the downside of getting the contract price is, well, this is what happened last time, is the loggers cut it, they brought it up here, they gave us a slip. We had to pay them money, and then every time they took saw logs out of there, they turned around and paid us money.
Right, so he had money going back
We had
and
money
forth.
going back and forth, which I would like to try to avoid, because
Yeah.
if that's the case, then we have to budget for that money in our expenditures account, and we don't get to use the revenue off of the logs that come
Right.
in. So
Right. No,
my
that's-
feeling is I would try to avoid that and just have them put it right in the contract
Yeah.
that they're gonna either truck it to us or leave it and be done with it, so we don't have to pay money out, and we don't have to put money in our expenditure budgets to pay them.
Exactly.
It's
Yep.
I don't know if the commissioners.
So it'd be no
feel on that.
expense to the county
Right,
doing it that way. Yeah.
right.
Couple of questions.
Go ahead. Are
Why-
you through talking about the limitations, or? We got more to talk about.
No, we can go through them item by item, I think,
Okay.
would probably
Did I
make
answer the
sense.
question?
Well, I was gonna.
We're on trucking right now.
Way down later
Okay,
than that.
go ahead, continue.
Okay, all right, so preference is that we put it in the contract and we ask them for their prices both with trucking and without.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, all right. Now, I had an estimate in here that we would ask them to leave 100 cords, but when talking with Will yesterday, you were thinking more of 150.
I'd like to go, if possible, if we have it in there, I would like to go 150.
Okay.
And then that's going to lead me into another discussion and question that we talked about yesterday that I wanted to bring up with the commissioners, is I believe the next, according to the timber schedule, the next one coming up that we'd probably do next year, hopefully, is going to be primarily a pine
Yes.
sale in there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm looking at somewhere between 120 to 150 cords a year that we're doing business with right now. So if we're not gonna get some next year, either I need to bump that volume up, or Wendy made a suggestion yesterday that we could possibly put in an additional section to that one next year that'll include some hardwood, so we'd have the hardwood for us. I don't know that possibility, but that's something that we need to think about, because either right now I need 2 years' worth of wood sitting out there, because we're not gonna have wood next year, or next year we need to include a section that would have some hardwood in it for us. Just a food for thought on that for our needs.
So all we're cutting this year is hardwood.
No, it's a mix.
Mix.
This
It's a mix.
particular section that we're working in, there was a lot of hardwood in there, so we are taking out hardwood.
I
but-
guess I would like to see as much hardwood left as possible.
But you can't burn it, David, and have it growing too.
Well, we're always gonna have some low grade.
No, I mean cut and left on the landing for use.
Yeah, okay.
You're predicting how much hardwood's gonna be cut?
It looks like, an estimate that I have is 460 tons of hardwood roundwood will be coming from this sale. That translates to about 175 cords.
And roundwood, Wendy, is not chips.
Right,
It's-
Yeah, there-
It's firewood.
exactly. And we will, if we have a whole tree harvesting operation come in here, there will be chips as part of this as well, and we'll get prices that they would pay for the chips, but it's not included in the estimate, the chip.
Why-
You're only talking about $1 a ton or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Wendy, why is roundwood, which you just said may or may not include chips, sold by the ton versus the rest of them that are sold by the board foot?
Well, the roundwood wouldn't include, would not include tons, would not include chips. Your pulpwood is sold as roundwood or pulpwood. Firewood can either go to the pulp mills as pulpwood, or it can be sold as firewood They call it round wood because it hasn't been chipped.
So they don't scale it, they weigh it when it comes into the
If-
processing facility?
Yeah, I could have put these all in cord numbers, or I could have put them all in tons. Because the softwood and the hemlock pulp are likely gonna go to paper mills, I left all of them in tons.
Okay.
But it can be scaled and recorded either way.
Most of them that when we bought logs in, they'll tell you there's X amount of cords on the truck, maybe 12 cords, but that's usually figured into how much it weighed. By the time I cut, split, and stack it, it might come out to 11 cords. But most of the loggers deal with the weight because they can scale it.
And it doesn't ever come out to 13?
Not in my experience, but
So I guess my question is, can we leave more hardwood there to be processed on the landing, rather than them hauling it off?
to sell it, basically, I think that's what you're asking.
Yeah, and, it looks like we'll have about 175 cords. It could go above that, could be a little bit below that.
Yeah.
So if we want to put in up to 175 cords to leave on the landing,
I think that, I agree with you, I like that idea myself. And I'm not gonna say a number, but, because we're gonna be getting bids on this, but Wendy and I talked about a number of what we think that this sale will bring in.
Yeah.
And I think the more cordwood with it we keep is probably gonna make that number lower,
Yeah.
if I'm assuming
yes.
correctly, which is fine if that's what if we're going for, but I think that's why she kind of tried to shoot in the middle, I'm assuming, so we can get a decent amount of money in from the sale and try to supply our needs. But if we want a little bit more, that's fine, it's just gonna take off on that total amount that we're gonna get down a little bit.
I guess-
What is the problem with that? Well, we're gonna make it up in
Right.
firewood.
Yeah. I
don't have a
Sell
problem
it.
at all.
I mean, other than the delay.
I agree with you guys, I don't have a problem at all, I'm just letting you know, I think that's what Wendy was going with on that.
Right, I was picking a
And-
number that we were looking at on average needing 150 or 100 cords a year. And so,
If we want more, I don't think that's a problem, we just have to expect that the money numbers for the total sale is probably gonna be a little bit less.
That's okay, that's okay. As far as the
Am I
As far as
correct?
the
Yeah,
income,
yeah.
from the sale can be lower, but we want a lot more hardwood left
Mhm.
because we need it to process it,
okay.
Right.
right?
I agree.
Okay.
The next year, the next 2 years, or next year, or 2 years, or 3 years, cutting, are they gonna abut the area that we have here now, so we won't have any problem with building more roads, other than
Yeah.
an extension maybe into the cut area?
Actually, if you look at where the red line goes up,
Yeah,
on the left-hand side of the road, there is an old, it's again a similar old field that's sort of grown back. It's got some poor quality pine in it. That area was actually marked and scheduled for sale back in 2006. The problem was the landing was located right at the end of the shooting range, and so we weren't able to complete that harvest.
Yep.
The hope is that we will do this section next, using the landing that we create with the sale that we're talking about today. It's less than ideal because we'll be skidding the wood uphill to the
I was
landing.
just gonna say, aren't we gonna be taking it back uphill and then hauling it back down?
We just had, we couldn't really use that lower landing because of the shooting range there.
Well, I assume you're talking about this area right here,
To the left of the line.
the little
A
V.
little bit further up on
Yes,
your
it's,
page.
it's up, it goes right about to where the yellow dotted line is, that whole
say
pine
yeah.
section there.
Oh, no, but I'm talking about the shooting ranges down here, and
Yeah,
why can't we ask whomever owns this piece of property in here, if we could just cross their property and have the landing down on 171?
we can look into that.
I mean, that's
That's-
away from the,
Yeah, that's
we might have to
another
provide them with some
option.
firewood for the winter or something, but it certainly would be better than hauling it all the way
It
back
does
up
get
the
a little
mountain and
bit
then
wet
back
in
down.
there, and there are some stream crossings in there, so, when you get down into that area, but it's definitely something we can look at.
So right now, the landing for this cut would be where?
That's something that I'll work with the loggers on, but where I'm envisioning it is just in the field just below the communications tower.
Okay.
Tower is where?
The tower is at the top of the field.
Yep.
Do you see it on there, David?
Tower would be right up in here.
Oh, and that's the field, okay. So what would you do when you go up the red line?
Yes,
That would be the
that
access
is-
road, and then we have to improve it from there to the tower?
What the road does is it goes in on that red line, and then it takes a sharp corner right where I stop the red line,
Yeah.
and then extends up through the field. There is an old road that goes straight up the hill.
Okay.
Peter Pohl had gotten estimates back in 2006 where he estimated to straighten that road and upgrade it to be able to use it again along the field would cost about $5,000. It's a very steep grade in there, so I'm not sure it really makes sense to have trucks coming up and down that grade. I think we could have some erosion problems there. So my thought is to leave the road with the corner in it, and use the road that goes up to the water plant as well as the communication tower as the trucking road from the landing. If the loggers did want to straighten the road and go straight up there, it would involve some culverts, that sort of thing. Regardless of which way we go up along the field, I think the lower portion of the road, the conditions of this sale will be that it be done in dry conditions or frozen ground conditions. But that road does tend to get pretty soupy down at the bottom, and my concern is that if we have tractor trailers driving over it, it's going to get worse. So, again, one of the things that I had put in the prospectus and wanted to talk to you about was oftentimes if the state, the Division of Forests and Lands, when they do timber sales, they will often, to make it easier and more consistent for loggers to bid, say that they'll provide a certain amount of gravel, any road fabric that's needed, that sort of thing, with the expectation that the logging contractor will do the work and improve the road. So I had put in an estimate of 50 tons of gravel, and if you look at road fabric, I'm guessing there's about a 200-foot section that might need the road fabric. You can get a roll of 400 feet for about $500.
You're talking, that's a county expense.
Right.
That's what I'm suggesting, and that's what I'm asking you about.
And that road would be used for further future.
It would be used for
sales.
future timber harvesting. We need to keep it open so that they can get to the communication tower as well as get to the water treatment plant. So
Yep.
we do need to keep it in good
I would think
condition.
that would be a good thing to do.
And just on that end, the water tower, the communications tower and the water building up there, that road is it's bad now. I mean, I go up in dry weather, I almost have to have the truck in four-wheel drive on dry weather.
Yeah.
When it gets wetter in the wintertime, we generally don't even go up it. We can't even plow it or use a tractor to plow it. We go to the gate and then we just walk up, we snowshoe up, because it's such rough shape. So this would also have, not only for the harvesting, but it'll have benefits for us on those areas too.
Well, how often does the sheriff go up there with the towers? They must do maintenance on them.
To be honest, I'm
He
not sure, because they have their
probably
own key to go up there, so I'm not sure how often they go up there. I just couldn't answer that question. I'd be
Not often enough they can pay for 25 tons of gravel.
probably not. The other thing that I brought up with Wendy is when you first go on with that red line, right to your left-hand side, when we had the nursing home was being built, there was a bunch of fill that Andrews wanted to get rid of, and I had it stashed up there for improvements on this road in the future. So it's probably stuff that's not, a top layer type material, but if there's holes types of things and they need to bring up the volume, bring up the elevation of it, there's a bunch of material that we've had stashed up there. It'll be right at the bottom of the road that we've already have there for the improvement of this road that they would have access to.
Would we bid that out, or would that be done by you?
That, I would
Improve it
assume
up.
that would be, the logger's gonna do all this work because they got the machinery, we don't have the machinery. And then that if they need any of that dirt, it's right there to be used. That would be my.
So we still got the cost of the fabric and the gravel,
Right, potentially.
but the loggers would do the work.
Right.
I would think that'd be the way to go.
Do you have any idea what a ton of gravel costs?
I believe Will said that we have a contract with somebody that we can get gravel at $220 a truckload. They're about 11 tons on a truckload. So we're talking about, up to $1,000 probably.
And what the road fabric, I'm thinking that, and what the road fabric, from the numbers Wendy's given, I would say less than $2,000 that we probably,
Yeah.
have wrapped up into that section.
Now, does the gravel go out for bid?
No, it's under
Like I said,
$5,000.
it's under 5,000, I mean, I guess
Under
that would be you
5,000,
guys'
yeah.
decision, but it's under 5,000, I wouldn't see why we would have to.
No.
Well, I would think an item of that size, you might run a quick ad for
Yeah.
50 tons or however many tons of, 50 tons of gravel.
Okay. If that's the commission's wish, we can definitely do that, it's no problem.
So it'd be 4 or 5 truckloads is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
You have to offset that with
And
the
I
cost
get,
of
I'd have to look
advertising.
at the numbers again, because I get the tons versus yards mixed up. There's a multiplication factor, and I could
Yeah.
have it backwards, but I
Yeah.
think it's around that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
I think the consensus, Asher, you can say what you'd like to do regarding the fabric and the 50 tons of gravel?
Yeah, I agree with him. That's fine.
Okay, so I guess the consensus of the board is that we go ahead and improve that road.
okay. Okay, the last, a lot of sort of general conditions here. I anticipate there's going to be at least one stream crossing where we're going to need to have loggers put in a temporary skidder bridge. It could be, depending on where we put the skid roads, there could be a couple of other crossings, but depending on who the high bidder is and what equipment they have, we'll look at laying those roads out once we know who the high bidder is. The only other consideration that I think is rather unique to this site is we do have the municipal wells up there. So the timber sale has been marked to keep equipment 100 feet from the wells. I'm putting in there that no skid trails should be located within 100 feet of the wells, and that all the drainage should be directed away from them, as well as if anybody is storing any fuel up there, which I don't anticipate, that it would have to be, have double containment, just again to protect the wells. So those are some not typically included types of clauses, but just to go over, these are some of the conditions that I'm putting out in that sale.
I think you ought to include any fuel storage is below the wells.
Below the wells, yeah.
It is here. It says any fuel storage on site shall have double containment.
But also if we put it below
I'd
the
rather see
elevation
it
of the wells, so
below
it
the
would run
wells.
away from them.
We can't afford to lose the wells.
Well, my point is, it says that anyway, right here. I mean, it doesn't make, you don't specify around the well, you say any fuel stored. So
Well,
that
double
would be
containment, I think what Commissioner Sorensen's saying and what double containment is two different things. Commissioner Sorensen's saying it should be located lower on the hill.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
and the double containment will be below the well.
Right.
Double containment would be like another container type of deal,
Okay.
and then Commissioner
makes
Sorensen's
sense.
saying below.
Okay, what else?
Okay, so that's pretty much it. Those were the questions I had, and I just wanted to, the timeline that I'm looking at is that I'd like to finalize the information and get it sent out to loggers by the end of this week, get the ad in the newspaper, do a timber sale showing to any loggers that are interested in bidding on the sale on August 27th, and then have bids opened at 2 p.m. on September 10th. So that's the timeline.
What date, what's the day of September 10th? Is it a Wednesday?
That is a Tuesday.
Okay.
We could do,
No, that's okay.
Okay.
So the bids come in on Tuesday and we'll open up on Wednesday.
yeah, that would be
Okay.
fine.
Wendy, I don't see anywhere in here where it says the job has to be completed.
Okay,
I did see that.
You're gonna get out in September, so obviously it's gonna be dry or frozen, so he's gonna be working in the frozen season, hopefully.
right, the period of the contract is, the purchaser shall be allowed from contract signing through May 15th, 2014 to enter, cut, and remove timber.
Where is that on here?
It's on the first page that says prospectus highlights.
In your little packet there, Commissioner, it's your third page
It's the
in.
four-page
Third page in.
deal, but it's the third page.
Oh, okay, I got it. Didn't even see that page.
And
Okay,
that's
thank you.
subject to seasonal and other restrictions. The reason I put the May 15th date in there is that the year for timber taxation runs from April to the end of March, but you have through May 15th to get all of the information in. If we need to extend it, we can certainly do that. If the weather conditions are not amenable to getting up there and getting the work done, but because it's important for the county to get the firewood, I'd like to get it done sooner rather than later and keep the contract period short.
Yep.
And we pay a timber tax even though we're a county.
No, the purchaser
The logger.
shall, because it's public land, normally the landowner is responsible for the timber tax, but for public land, it's the purchaser
Oh, okay.
that's responsible for the timber tax.
Yeah. So nothing is coming out of your budget, with
Well,
the
the-
exception of maybe the gravel?
Right, the gravel and the road fabric,
Yeah.
and that, when we come across that, we have an amount.
You have that in
We
your
have,
budget?
we have in the budget, we just may have to
One
come to the
line.
commissioners to move from one line item to another line item
Yeah,
for that, but as long as we're able to do that, we'll have it in the
Okay.
budget.
okay. Okay, anything further regarding
Yes.
Tim Sale? Go ahead.
I didn't see this page 3, so that took care of one of my questions was about a bond.
Yeah.
And you have answered that. But why do you put in all closeout work will be done with a bulldozer and excavator?
Just so that, it's not back-dragged, to get a quality job done.
With what? I mean, like a bucket, you mean?
Yeah, if you were to take the skidder blades and try to
Oh,
smooth
okay,
things
okay,
down,
okay.
Particularly for the road work, the skidder trail's not an issue so much, but the landing, and there are gonna be a lot more conditions, these are just sort of the highlights of it. There'll be a full timber sale contract that the purchaser will be asked to sign, and you'll also be asked to sign.
Are
That
they
will
a
have.
standard contract, Wendy?
Well,
We
there are
add whatever.
there's a lot of standard language in that contract, but the contracts that we have, there are a lot of things that depending on the circumstances, you may want to add or don't need to add. So it will be tailored to this particular situation, but there'll be a lot of standard clauses in it, yes.
And all the cutters are gonna be certified? Been through the certification safety course? Do we put that in the contract?
We have not put that in the contract because New Hampshire has a professional logger program, but I know a number of people in this area from Maine are certified in Maine, so.
Why don't we put certified in New Hampshire or Maine?
Or Maine, we can do that, okay. And it's really, it's not really a certification program, it's
The professional loggers or
it's a
whatever.
voluntary program. But-
Well, at
but we
one
can-
point, the mill over here in Madison wasn't taking any, maybe they changed their policy, but a few years ago, I can remember they weren't taking any logs in there unless the logger had completed a professional logging course.
Yeah, and there are some mills that do require that, so that's something that we can add in there.
Oh, I'd like to see it in there.
Okay?
I don't know, but that's only me, there's two others.
Yeah.
Okay?
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay.
And so this draft of the newspaper ad, who would I get that to here at the county?
Down in our office. Yep.
Okay. Great, thank you.
I have a question for Will. Will, you, down below here where it's wet, down by the mattress factory and up here by the, if you could get the commissioners to agree to it, what would be wrong with spending $250 and buying a solar-powered charger and putting a fence in there and leasing some of that land out to $50 a season for a couple of cows or doing something rather than having it go to waste and grow over?
Yeah, I wouldn't be, I don't think we don't do anything with that. I try to get on a year when it's dry enough. This year we're struggling for dry weather, but it has to be pretty dry, and I try to go down there and brush hog it and keep it open from.
Is that the piece
growing.
across the street from the mattress factory?
Yeah, and right across the street from that, going up by the side of the blueberries in the lower corner.
I do mow that.
You do mow that?
I do mow that. When we get dry enough, this year might be a challenge, but in the last 2 or 3 summers, I do, once we get into mid-August and it's real dry, I do mow that and we get hay out of that. So I might have objection for the county on that side. The other side, it's not, it's not being really used for much right now. My long-term plans were if the county would invest into a few beef critters to put down there, but we haven't gotten that far yet. So as it stands right now, that would be up to the commission, but I wouldn't have a lot of objections to that down there.
Was there a capability for water down there?
There's just natural water, I guess, but there's no.
What is there besides natural water, unnatural water?
Well, there's water drainage that goes
There's water
down the road.
drainage, I guess, is what I'm saying.
It's drain, but there's no spring or anything down there. We dig a hole and.
I think we could. I think there's one enough area we could try it. If you get someone in with an excavator that could reach over there and do it, they might be able to put one in. There isn't currently, but it's something we could look at in the future. That if we had critters down there to do that.
Are we satisfied with the drainage going off the road that drains into that field and makes it wet?
No, but
Is there anything we can do to ask the town to
I don't
redirect the water rather than it running down the road and then running into our field? Is
Right.
there any way we can redirect it?
I don't know. I think that'd be a
Or
question
put in
for
a
them.
surface drain that would take it down into the woods?
Right. I don't know about the town's end. They might, their options might be limited. I would say that we'd have to talk to them on that.
Okay. All right.
I
Another subject for another day.
Yeah, let's make a note of that.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank
you,
you.
Will.
Thank you.
Okay, Jason. Or Howie, I'm sorry. How are you scheduled next?
Oh, wait a minute, well, I wanted to ask about a couple of these bills here.
To who, Will?
Well, yeah.
Okay. Make it quick.
Just quick, Will, get a bill here from the hardware store, and it's broken down into, I don't know how many different, I guess everybody here has bought something from them. Do we have the opportunity to have somebody get together and look around to purchase these rather than, as you can see, it's, Kathy's broken it down to everybody that's gone there. It seemed to me that we could be doing better if we were going to one hardware store and trying to combine our purchases. They're not all yours. I'm just asking,
Right.
if you're gonna ask Jason the same thing when he came up, and Howie the same thing, because they're all on here.
Good. I guess I don't fully understand the question. We're all going to that hardware store?
No, we're all going to either here or to the other one, or there's a third one they go to too.
Oh, okay.
And we should be, I would think, attempting to combine our purchases either quarterly or for a year or whatever. You just call up and if you need the part and make the purchase.
Pretty much, I mean, depending on what the part is, but if it's something that, you know, I can look at some of the receipts and tell you reasons why, but usually when we go to the hardware store, it's something that broke and we need to get it fixed.
And the other question is here is Napa. We use 2 Napas. Would we be better off using 1?
Yes and no, well, I don't think so, I don't know, you'd have to ask Kathy on prices, but the availability sometimes, if I call it, say, West Ossipee, and they're like, oh, I don't have the part here, but Wolfboro has one, so we'll scoot down to Wolfboro to grab that part because Ossipee doesn't have it at the time.
I understand that, but we're using 3 Napas. We're using West Ossipee, we're using Wolfboro, and we're using Wakefield.
Right.
Couldn't we, is there a chance that we could do better if we put out a contract for quarterly for only one of these places?
Maybe, I think you would have to ask Kathy who pays the bills, or unless Howie or Jason can elaborate on it, but I think Napa's gonna be Napa, I don't know,
Okay.
to be honest.
I know from the nursing home side, we use Bradley largely because Bob is picking stuff up on his way to work or from work, so we're actually saving money because we're not paying for the transportation all the time.
That's true.
Jason, comment?
We send Joe down to, typically we do all of our business right through Sanbornville.
You do what, Jason?
We do a lot of our business right through Sanbornville, the Wakefield Napa.
Wakefield, no.
I don't recall if we've ever gone up to West Ossipee.
Okay.
Anyway, I think it's worth taking a look at. I mean, we've done well by combining purchases in a couple other places with Staples. We might do penny saved is a penny earned.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just want to add quick on Mr. Chandler's comment. He said we saving on transportation because they're going to Bradley's. Every time we go into the store, we do pay mileage to them because I see they bill for mileage.
In this case, it's on his way to work, from home, or going home.
It's always, during the middle of the day, there actually is mileage.
I see that I see every time that I have to sign checks for mileage. One is going to the store, later one is going to another store.
Like he says, during the day, that may be true, but fortunately, if he's on his way home, he can stop and pick it up, or on his way to work, he can stop and pick it up, and he doesn't charge mileage, so that's a benefit to us.
It is.
Howie,
I don't know
good
that.
morning.
Good morning,
Go ahead.
Commissioners. Just brief report for you today, follow-up to a question that was raised last week about the LNA training and whether they were Carroll County. Last year's course, there were seven, in fact, we're limited to 8 participants. 7 were from Carroll County, and 1 was from out of county, from Middleton.
Good.
And I'm not even sure what county Middleton is, that must be Stratford.
Yeah.
Stratford. Of the applicants that we have for this year's course, there are a total of 26 applicants so far, 22 being from Carroll County.
Wow.
So we are primarily Carroll County, and that's as it should be. Another point of interest is we've had a little bit of trouble in the last couple of days with laundry equipment, and actually haven't had a chance to thank him formally, but want to thank Jason and the House of Correction for allowing the nursing home to do personal clothes at the House of Corrections. What this means is that typically in a nursing home situation, you have to build in all kinds of redundant equipment that we don't have to do because of collaboration within the county. So the cooperation of the House of Correction is very much appreciated. And that,
Getting back to the LNA, is there anyone else putting a course on in Carroll County?
not that I'm aware of, I don't believe Huggins is, and most people have gotten out of the business.
Really? Okay. Okay, go ahead.
But that's actually all that I had. We did have the architect was in for unrelated business, actually giving a tour for a place from Rye in on Monday, and had him, well, we could get him free, to talk about a couple of things. One, the potential creation of an outdoor area out back that we got some prices on, but also some of the ongoing sound problems that we have in the Mount Washington Valley room.
Yeah.
He told me that there was an original plan that had some acoustical tile. He's going to send me that plan, and concurrent with that, Bob is also continuing, hopefully, to finalize the negotiations with the carpet people about the carpet in that
Yeah.
room. My hope is that if we can generate savings, essentially a return on the carpet, we might be able to have a place without complicating things with a bond,
Yeah.
and being able to improve the room without cost to the county.
Yep,
So that is to
Okay.
be forthcoming.
okay.
And that's
Good.
all I have for you.
You're still working on the gardens?
The gardens, we're still trying to anchor the gardens with this outdoor area, be it a pavilion and also with the anchor pieces for both courtyards.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually do have some more plantings coming up, but would like to get the concrete power and water parts done first. And I think with the architect having come in, I think we're gonna be, I already have some preliminary prices, so
Okay.
within a week or two, I'll have a plan for you.
Okay.
I have a question about L&E course. How many people is in one class?
We're limited to 8 at a time.
Oh, okay.
That's
And you
actually a
said
state.
26?
With 26 applicants.
Yeah.
Now, and the interview started, I believe, yesterday in terms of Patty qualifying, who's qualified, and actually in our best interest to do that. But it's it's a significant, we wouldn't have expected 26. I think we would have expected there'd be more in the lines of 12 to apply.
How many vacancies do we have for LNAs?
We don't have any full-time vacancies.
But we have
are
per
looking
diem?
for per diems.
Okay.
So, and the course, I think out of the last course, I think we hired 2 from the course, so it does help us.
Mhm.
And it actually generates a few dollars. It's not lucrative,
Yeah.
but it doesn't cost us anything to offer, and it does return money to the county.
Okay.
Good.
That's it?
That's all I have for you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't let him go yet.
Oh, you got something?
Sure. Almost do. Howie, our dietary consultant, what exactly does this person do?
She is a dietitian. We're required, and she's an RDA, a registered dietitian, and we're required as a licensed nursing home to have either to have on staff a dietitian or to consult. In Alicia, it's much less expensive for the number of hours that she's working, typically less than 16 per week. But she's required to provide in each resident's chart an assessment of their dietary needs that involves not just the nutritional part, but also its texture, its consistency. It's actually fairly complicated, and it interacts very closely with speech pathology too. It's amazing the number of different diets that we have to offer and provide therapeutic diets that are supervised by a registered dietitian.
So if I ate better, I'd speak better?
Well, if you didn't speak well, in something that's new, it's what's new to some of us is if you have coughing and gagging and not aspirations. All of a sudden, words can suddenly leave you. If
Better
you're
diet.
prone to choking, you need to have thickened liquids, and that can make a big difference in terms of someone's safety and also getting what they. Well, because they can't aspirate. The word is aspirate. I guess it really is aspiration. You can aspirate, and it's a well-needed and well-appreciated role.
What are the federal requirements for this person? So many hours a month, or so many hours per person or patient, or? You said we had to have one. What are the ramifications of that?
I think it falls into the range of what's therapeutically required. And that's going to be based on pretty much typical professional averages. 103 residents, 16 hours a week is probably at the low end. And I think we're able to keep it at the low end, largely because Rob and his crew are so good about being able to manage therapeutic diets. And we also have the benefit of having Genesis Rehab, and they have the speech therapist in that also is able to assist. So relatively speaking, it would not be unusual to find places with 103 beds that would be using significantly more hours. I hate to tell our consultant that, but I was pleased to see the hours so low.
And she actually takes each patient's food plan or whatever you have over there and goes over it and.
For each person that the doctor, the attending physician, has written a therapeutic plan for, or that we've requested the physician to, we have to review and approve, and it's also part of, she contributes to the quarterly assessments and the annual reviews.
And what do we have after we've paid this person to do this? What kind of assurance or backup do we have at the home that guarantees us that this plan is being followed?
Well, she writes the plan, Rob implements the plan, but she also supervises the implementation to be sure that it's done. And then as part of our continuous quality improvement, we see if
It's
there's compliance.
documented.
So that if it's been ordered, we also have to confirm that it's actually been delivered. Now, it can be, contrary to what people might think, a resident has the right, who's a competent resident, to refuse that. So, a resident can, the doctor can say, put you on a low-salt diet, can put you on a limited-calorie diet, but you can, if you're competent or your guardian allows it, you can refuse it, and we respect that.
Is this an on-site person, or does she work from her home?
Oh, no, she's on site. In fact, just left the meeting with her.
Okay.
She contributes as part of a multidisciplinary care plan.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Last week I mentioned a health program that's given by the National Association of Counties. Interesting to know that there's 19 different dentists in Carroll County, and that there are 4 eye doctors. This list will be forwarded to National Association, who handles the health care, to see if these people would be qualified or would accept the card to get a reduction in their health cost for these 2 particular items.
That could be big.
Okay.
That
Could
we
help.
appreciate it. Thank you
Yeah,
for,
and that's also true for the jail.
thank you for following
Okay.
up with that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, Jason.
Morning.
Good morning.
This morning, the population is 47 in-house. We have 1 weekender, 2 out on electronic monitoring, 11 transfers, 1 on pretrial release, total population of 62. We took in 20 inmates last week, 8 were repeaters, and 24 were released. And I got a call in mid-July that the town of Ossipee has changed providers for emergency medical transportation. They switched from one vendor to another vendor. With that being said, I have an agreement here with their new vendor to provide services to our facility at a flat rate, much like we had with the previous vendor, to make sure that, go ahead, Commissioner.
No, go ahead, finish. I want to ask you a question.
Only because when the local fire department is dispatched, we're going to be getting this new provider, so I just need to make sure everything's seamless and we don't have the previous vendor showing up at the facility. So I have the agreement here, I just need you guys to
So
sign
you
off on it.
cancel the previous vendor?
I
You will?
not yet, but I have to, only because from the new vendor is going to be an automatic response with the Ossipee Corner Fire Department.
Okay.
So, if you wouldn't mind just signing off on.
Any difference?
There's a $33 increase, but we've been paying a flat rate of, thank you. We've been paying a flat rate for a number of years, and it's not really a substantial increase over what we've been paying. And the flat rate covers everything from a basic, what they call a BLS transfer or transport, to a ALS transport. BLS is basic life support, advanced ALS is an advanced life support. And there's a number of different factors that go in with that.
Jason, why, can I ask him a question?
Go ahead, yes, go ahead.
Jason, why are we bound by what Ossipee Village does? Ossipee dumped, or get rid of, or voided the contract, or whatever it did with the previous supplier. And I guess we have a new one. Why can't we still use that former supplier? We didn't have a problem.
Well, you're having dispatch comes out the Ossipee Corner Fire Department, and then the new vendor, North Conway Ambulance, Lifestar EMS will not be toned. So unless there'll just be no communication, and I would imagine it'll be just a logistical issue with dispatch toning Ossipee Corner, North Conway Ambulance, and Lifestar EMS to come to the county. Because if they go just to the county, they'll be pressing 3 tones rather than just a standard 2.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know how you two feel about it, but Lifestar is still here, and they're it's an expensive proposition. I have a medical bill here that I want to talk to Jason about from the hospital. Why are we not able to call Lifestar and see if they will continue the same schedule that we've had before? How hard is it to hit 1 button instead of 2 buttons instead of 3? I don't understand it. I don't see why we're bound by what somebody else says. The place isn't on fire. We have a medical emergency. Why wouldn't we be able to call whomever we want as long as they're accredited or certified?
Is it a difference between we calling them and Ossipee calling theirs and delivering?
Well, when we call for an ambulance, we'll call dispatch and tell them we need the fire rescue. So what they'll do is they'll dispatch Ossipee Corner Fire and the ambulance service, because Ossipee Corner doesn't transport. So right now, because the town of Ossipee is in a contract with North Conway Ambulance, they'll dispatch Ossipee Corner Fire and North Conway Ambulance.
So what comes up here from the fire department?
We'll get their rescue truck with their personnel, and then the transporting agency of North Conway Ambulance.
Okay. I don't know what to think. Can we have a week to,
We got until the 31st.
okay,
No, they've already, town of Ospree's already switched.
Yeah.
town of Ossipee switched.
But our
to August
contract
1st.
would be the 31st.
I have to give them a 30-day notice,
Oh,
You have to give who a 30-day notice?
Lifestar, because technically I'm still in a contract with them.
So what happens now that in another 30 days isn't gonna happen? If you can get them now, why can't you get them 31 days from now?
Well, right now, they're not gonna be toned from
Ossipee.
dispatch.
Why? And why can't, what's so hard about it, this toning thing? Is it a big deal? Don't you just wire it up and hit a button? I don't know anything about it, but it doesn't seem to me that it'd be a big electronic change.
Well, by going to North Conway Ambulance, you're going to prevent the fire department and 2 different ambulance companies coming to the facility, because Ossipee Corner Ossipee has the contract with North Conway Ambulance. They're the provider for the jurisdiction of the town of Ossipee.
So the tone only lets you know that there's an emergency, you better get going. So if you hit the tone and it went off in 2 places, 2 different ambulance services would come. It's not hooked up, it isn't toned just to North Conway Ambulance?
When dispatch tones out the call, they'll tone North Conway Ambulance and the Ossipee Corner Fire Department. They will not tone Lifestar EMS. Because it's the town of Ossipee has the contract for.
I understand that,
Okay.
but this toning thing, that you hear it on the scanner, it comes on and calls an ambulance.
Mhm.
Why can't they push another button that says Lifestar instead of North Conway?
Because
I mean, I can understand it for the village, because that's the contract with the town, but we're
Mhm.
not part of the town, we're part of the county, or we are the county,
Mhm.
and we shouldn't be constrained by what the town of Ossipee does.
But you fall in the emergency jurisdiction of the town of Ossipee.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying, or it's 2 different entities, but
I mean, if
for
we could
emergency.
save the taxpayer money here
Mhm.
and do a credible job, why shouldn't we be able to?
we should be able to. I guess I still don't understand it either.
I know
Is
Ossipee had a
this,
problem.
Is this a transport problem from our facility to hospital, wherever? Is that what we're looking at?
Correct. So if we have to send an offender over to the hospital by ambulance,
Right.
previously, we would get the Ossipee Corner Fire Department and Lifestar EMS.
Right. Now we're
Because
not going to get Lifestyle because,
the town of Ossipee doesn't have a contract with them anymore.
I have a question. You're calling the ambulance or the dispatch only if there is an emergency?
Yes.
Is that why the ambulance is coming?
Mhm.
But it's not at night that they don't feel well that you have to transport them?
No, it's in an event of emergency, ma'am.
Only emergency?
Mhm.
What prevents you, Jason, from, if you've got somebody you know it's an emergency, calling the vendor yourself?
We can do that, we just won't have the services of the fire department coming in to provide care between the time we call and the time the ambulance arrives.
is the fire department and the ambulance service, they're tied together
Well, yes.
by the town?
By the town, yeah, the local precinct, Ossipee Corner will send up rescue and their personnel.
Okay, and
then-
they'll also send the ambulance?
And then the ambulance comes in, correct.
But you can't get just the fire department?
If I tone just the fire department, then
Cannot
they're coming with
transport.
with the ambulance. That's,
Oh,
But they don't have to. If we decided as a board of commissioners that we wanted to continue to do business with this other outfit,
then we just
nothing
go,
that says that Adam can't tone them just as well. He was toning them before. Why can't he tone them now if he wanted to? The reason he doesn't now is because the town has switched providers.
I'll tell you what, you live down there close to that fire
I'll go see
department.
him.
You talk with Adam.
Yes, I will. That's
Okay.
why I asked if he had some time. I will do that.
I guess when you call the fire department, you automatically get the contract with the town of Ossipee.
correct.
Yes.
You'd have to make a special exception to call the fire department and the present ambulance service.
Or dial direct to the present vendor.
Can you do that? Okay, if there, it needs to go to the emergency room, can you just call the vendor, the ambulance?
We can, again, we're just not getting the ability to have the fire department come in because they have paramedics on their
And the
squad.
ambulance doesn't.
Well, the ambulance may or may not, no, it depends on who's staffing the truck that day.
Maybe we should ask who's coming in the ambulance if we call. If they have their people, the paramedics. So there are no paramedics, you think?
I don't know what
Okay.
again, it depends on what their schedule is. They may have paramedics on the truck, they may not, they may have.
That's a
You would,
question.
you would usually think that they would
Yeah,
have,
paramedic.
because the ambulance is coming, they usually have these people on board.
Well, paramedic is just it's a level of training.
Yeah.
So you have your EMT basic, and you have the advanced EMT, which is the intermediate level, and then you have a paramedic. So it depends on what they're staffing their truck with. If they have a basic and a paramedic, they could have a basic and or advanced EMT and a paramedic. They may have two paramedics. Depends on what they're staffing
Okay.
So
their
the
truck with.
paramedic is the top
So
of the
we
heap
need-
and the basic is, EMT is the bottom.
Is the entry level.
Little
Yes.
triangle.
Mhm.
Okay. You don't know, do we have any state regulations, Jason, about whether a fire department has to have a paramedic on duty all the time, or so many hours a week, or?
No. Some of the local towns that have full-time departments, they'll have a town stipulation that they have to have a certain level. The state mandates that you have to be a firefighter level 2, and I want to say advanced to be a full-time, advanced level EMT to be a full-time firefighter. But for calls for volunteers or call departments, I don't think that when the tone goes off that they have to roll a certain level of training individual.
Is it not possible that the ambulance service has a higher level, has a paramedic, and the fire department would only get here with an EMT?
Possible.
Possible.
I mean, isn't that a possibility also, that you could get a better level of service with an ambulance than with the fire department?
Well, again, the fire department's not doing the transports, it's the.
Oh, I understand that.
So you may, in the meantime, just have an EMT level individual arrive to the facility prior to the ambulance arriving. That's a possibility, absolutely.
Okay. Commissioner Babson will follow up on it. Is there any reason why we're low in our population this time of year? It seems like we've been low for some time. Lower than normal. Normal, we were probably up in the 70s,
Yeah,
80s.
well, for this year, we've been running in the mid-50s
Really?
typically. We're lower than that now. I don't know is the reason, but yeah, we are lower than our standard has been for the year.
Okay. Do you have anything to report on White's report that was given on Friday? Any additional thoughts that you have regarding what?
I'll be speaking to him more in depth this coming Friday when we have our superintendent's
affiliate?
affiliate meeting. Mhm.
Okay.
Does that have to do with the new bill that was signed? Is that what you're talking about? Was that the report?
Yeah, the 17-year-olds.
Oh, the 17-year-olds.
I thought you wanted me to follow up on the awards that they received and.
Yes,
Which-
I did too.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. And I'm sure they're going to take some kind of action on the 17-year-old being housed.
Yeah, we're putting the numbers together now. Betsy's putting the numbers together.
Okay. Okay.
I thought you were talking about the new bill that the governor signed that gives Jason and his peers the right to put somebody out on.
Jason. It's identified as superintendent or designee?
No, the superintendent.
Superintendent.
You're talking about the AHC
Yeah.
program, yeah.
Now, Commissioner Sorensen mentioned this morning, which I didn't realize, but he's right, we are ultimately responsible for the jail. How are other counties going to handle the fact that, I guess you have the right to say somebody's qualified to go out on a bracelet, if I understand it.
Yeah.
Do you have to come to us for our approval to put that person out?
Yes, sir.
What about the judge? The judge stipulates in their sentence?
We have to file a letter with the court saying that we're going to put the offender out in the program. And then at that point, it's up to the prosecutor to object, and then a hearing would be scheduled. If the prosecutor doesn't object, then the decision of the superintendent would stand and the person would be put out.
So it in no way comes before the commissioners then?
No, sir.
That's on electronic bracelets.
Correct.
Is it just the electronic bracelet, or do all, well, let me rephrase that question. Do all work release inmates have a bracelet? Are there some that go out without the bracelet?
On work release, no, we put
Yeah.
people out on electronic monitoring when they go out on work release.
On work release?
All of them, 100%?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
And my recollection is the cost to them is $120 a week,
110, I believe, now.
and we're only paying $85 a week for the service, as I recall?
I have to go back and look, because the difference with the level of supervision, it's a tiered system. So it ranges from as low as, I want to say $40 to as much as $80.
So we're making somewhere between,
$30 and
you do the heavy math.
$30 and $70.
Yeah, on each one of these.
Mhm.
And as you know, Jason, over the years, I've been a proponent of putting some of this in an individual's fund, so that when they get out of here, the first night they can afford to pay to stay somewhere or get a meal,
Mhm.
rather than going into the county. Maybe even one or two of them in the winter can buy a jacket.
Mhm.
But I think that's a lot of money that the county is making here, and not returning some of it to the individual.
Is there time involved in supervision or time involved in paperwork? as to a reason why we charge?
Well, supervision, we look at reports every day. We go out and check on them. So there's
So
supervision.
there is a cost.
There is a cost to it, but
Okay.
Well, wait a minute, Mr. Chairman. There's a cost involved here, but how long does it take? We've got one person on a bracelet, or two people, or three people. I don't know, how much exact time?
Do you have to go to
Jason
North
does?
Conway, or you have to go to Whitefield,
No, they
Wakefield?
got it on the computer right over here, and they look at the screen, don't you?
But don't you
Right,
have
and then
to
we
check
go
on them
out- we go out
physically?
and check on them.
Oh, every once in a while.
Right.
Well, work release, I was on the impression, Jay, that Superintendent Johnson, that they came back in the evening, they don't?
The work release
Is that a
people.
different program?
The work release people come back to the facility, yes. The administrative home confinement, they're working and then
So
they go
those
back.
people you have to go check up on, you don't go check up on the work release people, do you?
Yep, we'll go out and check their work
Do you?
sites.
Make sure they're working.
And who does that?
Any number of staff, Sergeant Phillips, Sergeant Baker, Sergeant Dugay, any number of staff.
And they don't do it on their way home, that's part of their daily duty.
They'll
They'll get in the car and surprise them and see if they're working,
Correct.
or where they're supposed to be.
Mhm.
Does this equipment indicate anywhere, or tell you on a GPS type thing where they are?
They can.
So if they say they're supposed to be in Madison, and it says they're up in Bartlett, you know it?
Mm-hmm. Yep, they can, absolutely.
What would you give as a rough estimate of the amount of time you'd take to supervise one individual a week?
Oh, it would vary. I mean, we get reports every day, so we review the reports, and then kind of Sergeant Phillips would really sit down and follow up to make sure that their schedule is matching where the report shows that they were supposed to be. So he could spend a couple hours a day, and then when it comes time to go out and check on the individual, travel time. So it depends on from week to week on how much time we would spend on it.
Do we use a company car, or do they take their own?
No, they'll go out in the county vehicle, because if there is a violation, then we'd have to transport them back to the facility.
Okay. I had one
Well
other
done.
question. No, well, go ahead, I had one other question I was going to ask him about.
Administrative confinement to home, that only requires your approval, or does it require commissioners also?
No, just the superintendent.
Just superintendent?
You approve the policy, then we follow the policy. So
Okay.
I guess it quasi,
'Cause
yes,
I saw
but
the law somewhere where it said superintendent and, no, it's in one of these. I read it last
One of
night.
those Prius, preview, or whatever
Yep.
it's called. Can I ask Jason a
Go ahead,
question while
yep.
you're looking? Jason, do you have any records of recidivism of the young folks that are out on bracelet versus the ones that aren't?
that I don't have that.
Without jumping through hoops, is that anything that your software could keep track of? Let's say 6 months, so we can get an idea whether it's just a chance for them to create more havoc, or whether they're really accomplishing something and not coming back.
Okay. First, we'd want to define what the recidivism timeframe would be. Do you want to use what typically the federal guidelines are, is like a 3 years from time of release? You want to use something like that? Because recidivism for everybody has a different meaning. If you want me to use the...
I mean, a year for me would be a long time.
Okay.
You can get in all sorts of trouble after that or before, but it seems to me if you get in trouble within a year after you get out, you really haven't learned much.
Mhm. I can get with Sergeant Phillips and see if that's something that we can put together
I don't want to
and
give
track.
any more work, but if it's a possibility, I think it would be an interesting figure. We've all learned a lot since you've started reporting how many are coming back here. Did you find it?
Yeah, I did. It's under community outreach program, where if it's a nonprofit organization,
Oh, yeah.
it's you and us that agree to it.
Yeah.
If I could, a couple of questions, which I know it's probably non-public, but insurance, when they're out on a job,
Mhm.
painting a town hall and they fall off a ladder,
Mhm.
who covers their insurance? We do.
We do.
Are we currently covered? We're currently covered, I would assume.
Yeah, they would fall under just our medical
Okay.
line item.
And when we're doing work with inmates for nonprofit, and let's say they've hired a contractor to do the painting, we're not gonna go in and do painting with the contractor, right? The contractor is separate. We're not going to be supporting a contractor painting the building,
No.
correct?
Yeah, you shouldn't do, if they did that, they would call us to go in and do the
Right.
work. I think it would be cost prohibitive for an organization to hire a contractor and then have us come in and do it.
And the other question I'd have is, when they're out...
Excuse me,
Go ahead.
David, so what was your thinking, that they'd have an unfair advantage over,
Yes.
over another commercial painter?
Right.
Okay.
In one of the sections here, request for work crews, the Department of Corrections will make every attempt to schedule community service projects without using overtime expenses.
Mhm.
I would hope that we don't have overtime out doing a community project that's gonna cost us money for overtime.
Okay.
And the attempt, I guess, is the question mark that I have. I guess I would change it, that there would not be any overtime expense, rather
I
than
would agree with
make
that.
every attempt. Just some quick questions that I came up with here.
David, what would happen if the municipality was willing to pay the overtime? They were in a crunch and they needed the help, and they were willing to pay.
I think that'd have to be worked out.
Well, one of the
That's
things
the
in
case.
this,
Want to limit
I
that.
just wouldn't want to have the county pay the overtime.
I agree with that.
one of the things that in the proposed policy is to allow municipal workers to actually be the supervisors of the offenders when out in the community, as long as we give them the proper training. So we would have them either come and pick the individuals up, or we would deliver them to the work site and then periodically check on them, but
But-
have the local municipality supervise them while they're out working.
Is that realistic, Jason? I mean, you
State
think
prison
town's
doesn't.
gonna send in, and I don't know how long your training is for oversight of these.
It's done in orientation, right?
Right, yeah.
The same type of training a farm crew would get.
Mhm. Yeah, it wouldn't take very long.
Well, I mean, an hour or 2 hours?
Yeah, couple hours, 3 hours. Yep.
Okay.
On the work crew rules, how is the work crew supervisors identified? Are
We would-
all your inmates in orange when they go out?
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
so the supervisor would not be.
Well, the supervisor would be the municipal employee or
Yeah.
correction staff.
Right. In transportation, correctional officer will inspect the vehicle used for transportation prior to leaving the facility. Any faulty equipment will be reported to the maintenance department. What maintenance department are you talking about?
Joe.
Joe,
Mhm.
okay. When a crew goes out, does one officer go or two?
Typically 2.
Okay.
And that's in case if there was an emergency, like somebody got hurt and we had to send one of the individuals to the hospital, at least we'd have retained custody.
That's right. Regarding handcuffs, if an officer needs a second pair of handcuffs,
Mhm.
he has to purchase them? Why
Yeah,
don't
we issue one set of handcuffs.
But why would he have to purchase a second set?
Because we issue one set, if he wants to have 2 sets.
I guess why wouldn't we issue 2 sets if it was that important or that requirement?
Because typically, most of the time, you only need 1 set. There are some situations where you'll need 2 sets, but you'll have a couple of officers there at the scene. So there's always ways to get around it. And so if the officer wants to have a second set of handcuffs, then they should be responsible for purchasing them.
Okay. This is in regards to in-house. When an inmate complains of an injury, who determines whether that injury is causing pain or whatever?
The supervisor or the medical staff.
Okay. Another item in here, under certain circumstances, staff will have discretion in the application of such restraints. Is that a judgment call?
Well, yeah, when you're using.
Under certain circumstances?
Sure, what, I guess I'm kind of at a loss, I mean, you're talking, what's the paragraph about?
Special management inmates will be in hand and leg restraints while being escorted within the facility. Under certain circumstances, staff will have discretion in the application of such restraints. So that's a judgment call on that person that's supervising the transport. Okay. And under administrative review, who are you looking at as administration? You, the captain, lieutenant, sergeant?
It would be myself or the captain for administrative review.
Okay.
As to why somebody's in administrative segregation.
Okay. Those are the ones that I had question about. Did you bring in another two for us to review?
I brought one more copy. Yep.
Okay.
And I was going to present that in a non-public session.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir?
You have anything further?
Yes. Jason, when you're planning to go out to a municipality, would you prefer that we don't mention the name of that place, or do you care if it doesn't make any difference to you if we do?
Prior to the work site, then
Yes.
no, I would not.
You would prefer that we didn't?
Correct. After the work's completed, absolutely.
Okay. Well, we had the question on a non-public, and that's what we thought, and that's what we went along with.
Yeah.
So before, no, but after, it's okay.
Yep, absolutely.
Last week we decided that the directors of the different departments supervisors were going to come up with a smoking area. Did you decide to do that? Commissioner Kenney was going to work with you and...
Yes, I have one. Oh, what's the question? For Jason or for
Well,
me?
have you figured out where the area is for the jail?
I thought that he
jail.
was going to do his jail. I was going to do for the administration
was doing
building.
You're doing just the administration
Yeah.
building?
Yeah.
Oh,
What we decided would be if there's a smoking situation at the jail, that you designate that area where it may take place for your staff.
Okay. We have a policy on that, and we don't allow smoking at all.
No smoking at all in the
So
jail.
smoke-free
Correct.
there.
We're
Yep.
talking about changing it. We've already done it for the nursing home. If you've got a habitual smoker, and rather than go out and sit in their car, have an outdoor designated area.
Okay.
Do you have nobody that smokes over there?
Not now.
That's good.
You will have some.
I recall seeing cigarette butts outside the door.
Used to.
That's
You don't-
changed.
You don't see that anymore.
Okay.
No. I mean, we do, yes, we do have people that smoke, but they're able to go their entire shift without smoking.
Without any place on the facility.
And
Correct.
they have a long shift. They have a
Okay.
12-hour
Mhm.
shift.
Yep.
Okay. Follow up?
Well, I'm just checking, that's a policy that we wanted to change. Do you want to come in next week with a proposed area in case you should hire a smoker or somebody that has to have a cigarette?
Honestly, not really.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd rather leave it that, we had it so the staff don't smoke now, and I'd rather not go back to allowing it.
Okay. Takes care of that?
I wish that was true for the nursing home, because I still feel that somebody's out smoking, their clothes reeks with smoke, and then they go in and they service a patient or a resident, and the resident has no control over it. That still bothers me. But
My next question, Jason, are those prisoners or are those employees?
Those are all offenders, sir.
They're all what?
Inmates.
Inmates, okay.
Yep.
Well, then I'll ask the question that way. I just didn't want to disclose any information that might be private. We had a pretty exceptionally high bill from Huggins for July. It was pennies short of $5,000, and that's with a discount. Who is making the decision over there that they have to go over to Huggins? This doesn't take in whether there's an ambulance ride or not.
Right.
This is just the bills, and boy, they're fairly good size. And it's for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
6 inmates?
No, it's 5 inmates, one's a duplicate. Who makes that decision?
Typically it'll be the doctors. The medical staff will call them with a situation, and then they'll give a report to the doctors, and then the doctors will make a determination whether the person needs to go out or not. And then some of them are routine as far as ongoing diagnostic evaluations for medication adjustments and things of that nature.
I remember monthly we see bills, but I don't recall seeing one this size. Is this an extraordinary amount for, we're talking $1,000 usually a month, but somewhere in there.
Well, some
Depends
of
on
them-
the inmate.
Yeah, it depends on the level of care that is required for the individual. But also, some of that, and I'd have to go back and look, some of those recently, and it might be coming in this week's bills, I'm getting bills from Huggins from services that happened in November of last year. So
Really?
yeah.
They're sending
And I
you
go
bills
back
from
and-
from November of last year?
It could be. I don't know if it's in that stack or the stack that I'm going to be bringing over tomorrow. But I've gone back and looked to make sure that we have or have not paid them before I submit them. And if I'm submitting them, we haven't paid them. So.
And you're asking Kathy to also check here? Okay.
So this policy you gave us last week in a non-public session, this is a security policy or not? The one you gave us?
One of them dealt with
One?
security, and then the other one, well, when it comes to a policy discussion, I'd like to do it in a non-public session because it's a work in progress, and some of it has to do with security-related material.
Okay.
But
Okay. Anything else?
no, sir.
Any questions? Any further
Fine,
questions?
thank you.
All right, you're coming back in for non-public.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Jason, we were just discussing the hardware bill here we had this morning, about $550. And it's broken down by whichever account it is, and you people are on this. Do you ever, I don't know who does it, Joe do the purchasing? Does he ever ask anybody if they've got to make a purchase at the same time, or does he just pick up the phone and call up and say, I'll be up to get it, or
I think
we
if
pay
he,
both mileage and, there doesn't seem to be any competitiveness to this at all?
well, usually he'll take the jail truck to go up to the hardware store, and we've always done business with just specifically Indian Mound. And if he needs an item, typically he'll just go up and pick it up. I don't know if he checks with any of the other departments if they need to go up and get something or not. I'd almost lay money on that he doesn't do it.
He doesn't, that's
Yeah.
would be my guess.
Yeah. Unless we had a purchasing department. That's where that would come in, I think.
I mean, here's one, farm, and jail, sheriff's department, and Mountain View Nursing Home, all on the same day, going up there, and somebody had to go about 6 trips to pick up the parts. It isn't very much money, but it all adds up.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll hear from the HR, and then we'll go right into non-public. Good morning.
I just had a couple of items, and one actually was the smoking question, the smoking gun, was that I was provided with a copy of this notice that went into effect back in 2006 regarding effective August 1st, that the entire Carroll County complex would be non-smoking, and that smoking would only be allowed in your vehicle. And plus, we have these posted signs on several locations that it is a smoke-free campus. So I guess with regards to what was brought up last week.
I'm not sure we took action on that.
On which one?
Smoke-free campus.
There was
That
never-
surprises me. Where is that sign?
So it
They're
was
both-
never approved?
Both entrances, there's signs on both of the entrances where the 5-mile-an-hour speed limit is.
That speed limit is okay, but I don't think we approved a non-smoking campus.
Well,
From how
on-
long ago is that?
On 2006 it was.
2006?
I just wanted to bring those to your attention, that if
Yeah.
you're going to be allowing, then we are no longer a smoke-free campus. So I just wanted to give you that.
Why not
Because
try
it-
to fool 'em?
There's some confusion here now.
So-
We allowed smoking at that time, I believe it was that time, that they could smoke in their vehicles.
Correct,
But that doesn't eliminate a smoke-free campus.
correct.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't
I
think,
was not here in 2006.
that was
so-
a possibility of going to a smoke-free campus, but I don't think we voted on that to do that.
So you want to
Okay,
say?
I just wanted to bring that to you
Yeah.
because that was brought to my attention, as well as some, if
Yeah.
you could hand that to them, that would be great.
Smoke-free would mean you
Okay.
couldn't smoke in your car.
Exactly.
Well, it said that the only place you could smoke was in your vehicle, so that it would be a smoke-free campus, and that was. the
Other than
only-
that,
Yep, but I just wanted to bring that to you because that was brought to my attention from the concerns of making sure that it doesn't end up being, of course, outside the door, people having to walk in through a cloud
Yep.
of smoke, and
Yep.
if you have a smoke-free campus, then it should be a smoke-free campus. But that's all I had to say about that one.
My
Well,
suggestion would
especially
be
you
is
give
take
the
the signs
notice.
down and put signs in the window of the various buildings that there's no smoking within this
in
building.
the facility.
Because it's absolutely ridiculous, these people are going out and sitting in their car and smoking and then coming in and smelling like a pack of Marlboros.
Well, how do you feel about the nursing home employees doing the same thing?
Same thing, Howie's already done it, he's already changed it and had an outside area designated, and it's fine.
If they're smoking in a car, that's why they're smelling it. but it's
Okay,
smoke.
thank you for bringing that up.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I just wanted to give that to you.
Yep.
And the other question that was brought up, I believe last week, was about the website and where the information goes to that is on the website if you have comments, not the commissioner's email, but on the website if you have comments to submit those. And those emails get sent to Deb Newland and Cheryl downstairs, Cheryl Lauren.
Okay.
And what happens with those is that they're checked pretty much daily, and they are responded to. And the information goes back to the person and then gets disseminated to the appropriate party. So if it's, for example, if it's an inquiry as to something that has to do with the registry, it goes right to Ann, it goes to the registry.
Yeah.
So those are dealt with between Deb and Cheryl, because one on vacation or not.
Right.
And they communicate they copy each other as to who's answering it.
Yeah, good.
But the commissioner's specific email, that would be another
Okay.
conversation.
Okay.
But that's the email on the website.
But if they sent questions for the commissioner, she can also forward it to the commissioner's email.
Yes, exactly. If it was for the commissioners, yeah.
Yeah, if it-
And actually, I want to have her have a disclaimer on there added to it, and she's going to contact the virtual town hall to have a disclaimer put on that, that these aren't, sometimes they are not, if it is a timely matter, that please ensure to call and get immediate assistance, that they're not checked like every hour or every day specifically.
Yeah.
It's like maybe every other day, and not on the weekends. So we want to make sure people don't use that as an immediate response type
Right.
communication. So, and I think that was it for me.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Jason, I need to ask you what the non-public session is for.
Security related.
Security. Okay. Have any further questions for the HR?
No.
Okay, then make a motion that we go into non-public
I'll make a motion, we go into non-public session
under RSA
For-
91A3.
on 91A3, paragraph 2, A, B, and C.
Yeah, and,
Strictly for,
This is for
Security.
security.
okay.
okay, and the next.
I'll second the
We
motion.
have her coming in too. Where is she coming in for? Are you
Yep.
coming in for personnel? For?
I'm in
You're
a
coming-
non-public for personnel and also for E, consideration or negotiation of pending claims or litigation.
Okay,
So under E also,
So we need to add E.
yes.
so
please.
we'll
Okay.
keep 2 separate minutes for each one, okay? All right, so motion's been made and seconded. Roll call?
We have now Mrs. Hamilton doing the non-public minutes, so I prefer that she's doing the roll call also. That she called for the roll call now.
Okay.
Just the commissioner's name. Yeah.
Commissioner Babs,
Yes.
Yeah.
Ms. Kenney?
Yes.
Okay, then so voted. So we're going into non-public. That excuses everybody except those people that are listed as non-public.
Are you coming back?
All right, then so voted. Okay, we're back in public session, and I will report that we seal the minutes of our 2 non-public sessions, one dealing with personnel and one dealing with security, and one dealing with personnel. So that goes into the minutes, that we seal those 2 sessions. Okay, work session. Go ahead.
Commissioner Kenny, were you able to talk with Kathy about a place to smoke here?
Oh, I didn't talk to Kathy. Do I have to talk to Kathy? I thought I was just coming up with something. I didn't talk to her. I just thought the place at the side left of the building, but I will talk today to her if she has.
According to the minutes, you and Kathy would,
Oh, really?
yeah, I think so.
Oh, I missed that.
Okay.
I thought I was just gonna
And
look.
Will,
But I will
we
talk.
forgot to ask him while he was in here, who else we have to talk to?
It's just the 3 buildings,
Jason said no.
right? So then it's Will,
Just
is the
Will.
one we have to,
and
and
Kathy.
you can talk with him
I'll talk to him.
about it, okay? Anything else on the work session that we need to talk about?
Yes, I believe 2 commissioners were talking about there is a law. And you said that it's the law, if you have an audit, you need to first have one audit company coming in and do the audit, then a second audit company is coming in and doing the first audit. And you said Kathy Gary has the law or the RSA. I asked her, but she doesn't have the RSA or the law.
Okay, I talked with other counties last Friday. They do a financial, and it's required because of, I want to say HIPAA, but it's another requirement through the nursing home, I think.
Git or GAT or something.
Yeah, that you have to have an audit come in to audit the financials.
Yep.
There's a county, and I don't know, it's one of the big counties, that's going to send me a list of all organizations or companies that do audits throughout the state.
But first you said there were only 2 or 3 through the state. Now
That's
we're
right.
getting a list?
Well, I asked for it, and they said they would send me a list of auditors that they have had.
And what are we gonna do with it? Put it on file since we already gave out the contract last week?
Well, yeah, we'll do it for next time around.
Okay.
And did they also mention that you need to hire somebody doing the financial reports?
Some counties have on staff people who do the financials.
Because a couple counties that I talk with, they say their financial director is doing all the financial reports.
Yep.
And one audit
They
company
have a
is coming
department that
in.
does it. Yep.
One audit company is coming in and audit that.
Right, right. Anything further to discuss in the work session? Again, I'll tell you that, as I told a couple of the department heads, that we need to look over these union contracts. And we will have a meeting to discuss those as to what we should look for, what we should try to change, or whatever, for the benefit of everybody concerned. So please take some time and look over those contracts, because time is going to be running out. We're going to have some union negotiations coming up in September. So I would suggest that you do that.
I believe
I
about.
think one section that we need to talk about is, would we allow, and I guess it's maybe up to our attorney that does the negotiating, would we allow the correctional officers, the sergeants and up, join the union? That individual, the union rep, came here and said that's what they would like to happen. The people that are already in the union apparently voted, my understanding, is that they voted to accept the sergeants into their union. I would strongly oppose that. I don't think supervisors should be in the union. On the other hand, Merrimack County does allow their sergeants to be in the union. And the report that I got was that shouldn't have happened, but it did, and whether they're stuck with it or not, I don't know, that's their business, but they would advise that we do not allow our supervisors to become or join the union. So that's my thought on it. Go ahead, Commissioner Babson.
I thought Ms. Seamans brought us in the RSA last week that said supervisors could not be in a union, the same union as the people that are supervising. I'm not
I
familiar
don't know.
with the
Was
ranking
it-
over there. Are the sergeants supervisors, or
Sergeants are
talking about lieutenants or
supervisors. Sometimes you
captains or
call
whatever?
over there and it's a sergeant that's on duty, that's supervising the whole jail.
Well, that would make him a supervisor in my book,
Me too.
and I would say he can't join the union.
Now, what happens to those supervisors or those sergeants that are responsible for training, general training, but maybe firearms, for example, going out to the shooting range and qualifying them? Are they supervisors? I think they are too.
Well, if the law is the supervisors can't join the union, why is there any question?
Because it's happened in the past in other counties.
Well, they
And
have the
it,
opportunity to.
the request came
make
to
a
us
decision.
to consider it. That's why I'm trying to get to is, I think this board should go on record that we do not recommend that supervisors join a union, whether they approve it or disapprove it in their union meetings.
Well,
Do we have an agreement on that?
one of the things, my feeling is that we shouldn't be tipping our hand in either way, but if you're gonna do it, certainly, I also agree that they shouldn't be in the union.
What's your feelings,
Yeah.
Asha?
I agree, they shouldn't be in the union.
That they shouldn't be in the union?
Yep.
Okay.
They can be in their own union, but they can't be in the union with the people they supervise.
Okay. All right,
And
what
I
else?
guess for the record, I'd like to go on record as saying, if that's what they vote, I'm not opposed to it. I'm opposed to them being in the same union as the people
Yeah.
they're supervising.
They don't have enough members to have their own union, right, at the present time. I think they need 10 was the
It
question.
was 10 and they had 9.
Okay, any other things that we need to bring up in the work session?
I think that covers it for this week.
I'd already talked about that. I don't have anything. Do you have anything you want to bring up, Ashley?
No.
Are we finished as far as work session?
Yep.
Then we go into non-public, go into
Public.
public comment? Okay, open it up for public comment.
Do you have any more
Yes,
information on,
Daymond?
do you have any more information on that 17-year-old, 17-year-old inmate policy?
No, but they are going to, I think there was a meeting coming up within the next 2 weeks at the state level. The committee was going to look into it.
We have no space for that, right?
What's that?
We
No.
couldn't handle this.
No. Sight unseen, and so forth. Yeah.
My recollection is, Damon, that either previously 17-year-olds were considered adults, or somewhere along, I voted with the majority to change them to be seen as adults. But the problem was, it's 17 years old, and they get in trouble, we either had to take them to Conway or Berlin or down to Manchester. Because they couldn't be in the same room, and they couldn't be in sight of. I mean, it was just ridiculous.
I think you'll find that it's going to get changed.
Change back to,
Yeah.
that they'll be considered adolescents.
Mhm.
What about in a capital crime? To get a spanking and
I'm
get
going to
let
let
out
the
when they're
legislature
21?
decide that.
But that was the problem with it. I can remember the two or three of the former sheriffs coming in and complaining that it was costing them all kinds of money to transport in the middle of the night, either down to Manchester. I have a
Yep.
recollection, the other place was Berlin, but I could be wrong.
You could be
Two
wrong.
places-
I think it had to go to.
Had to go to Manchester.
Yeah.
And that also had a lot to do with the DEAS situation, because we were told it was going to be revenue neutral, and we traded the expense of the Department of Youth Services for the Department of Elderly and Adult Services, and as
Right.
we've all seen, it's been far from revenue neutral.
Yeah.
In fact, this year, it's what, $4.4 million we're paying out, and I don't believe our juvenile has cost us anywhere near that.
No. The question that came up on Friday regarding the payment for adult services, the state just bills us, and there are, in one county, I believe it's Cheshire County, that has said they are not going to pay the bill until they get documents showing where that money is going and for who.
And that goes back, they asked for that 4 or 5 months ago. didn't
That's
they?
right, exactly. But it came up again because it's not accurate according to the people that are dealing with it directly at the county level, especially the larger counties. And so that at least that one county is not going to pay their bill until the state comes up with reasons for the payment. There's no details on it, they just send you the bill and you pay it.
We
So
sign a
we'll see
check.
what happens.
We sign a check every month for, I think it's $372,000 to the state of New Hampshire to cover that cost.
Yep.
Would it be appropriate, Dave, to make a motion that we have Kathy, Gary, or Cheryl write to the department and ask for an item-by-item readout of who we've paid for over the first 6 months? So maybe we could do the same thing and see if we're paying for dead people or we're
Yeah,
paying for
correct.
people that don't belong to us.
Yeah, you made
Well, then
that motion?
I'll make a motion that we have one of our assistants write a letter to the Department of Elderly Services and request a detailed readout and of the payment, and that if we don't receive it within 30 days, we stop paying the state until we get it.
I'll
30 days
second.
ought to be plenty of time to get it to us.
Not for the state, but I'll second it. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. You
Did you vote?
agreed?
Yeah, I
Asha?
voted.
Okay. So show it unanimous. So voted. Go ahead.
How much money does that total every year? Is it 4 million?
I think I got it
It's
here
in
on
our
my
budget.
budget, it's 4.4 million, I think is the figure. It's over 4 million anyway, Damon.
Well, that should get their attention.
What's that?
That should get their attention, right?
It should. If we're in as bad straits
It
in
won't.
this state as they say we are, it should.
It won't. Go ahead, Melissa.
This was we had quite a discussion about this several months ago, so thank you for taking that step towards action on the issue about whether or not we're paying for the people we're actually responsible for.
Cheshire County has done that, and they haven't gotten anything back, and they haven't paid the bill, so.
Excuse me, Dave, can I
Yeah.
add something? Melissa, my understanding is that within the last couple of years, the department has gone to a new system. We always heard sitting here, where you're sitting, that we were paying for our own residents in homes in other parts of the world, or in this country.
Yeah.
And then the department came up with, there was too much between the counties trying to figure out who owed who what for how much, and they went to an averaging out system. So to get this readout, I'm not sure it's gonna do any good, but we can find out who, at least who we're paying for, or we're being averaged out to pay for. But I don't think it's gonna do any good, because they changed to an averaging system.
Go ahead.
Are they
Yeah,
also
okay.
averaging juveniles, and is it possible to get information about who they're paying for as far as juveniles, or to get some real statistics to see if it is neutral, like you said?
I think you could do that, but we're not involved in that.
Well, we can be very quickly. I'll make a motion that we have one of our assistants write a letter to the Department of Youth Services and ask how much, how many youths and the costs that we paid for the first 6 months of, then we can compare the two.
That, we don't pay for them.
No, but the state's paying.
You
for
wanna
them. I
know
wanna
what the
know
state
if
has
it's gonna be
paid
revenue neutral.
For Carroll County youth
Youths
that are in,
that we're responsible for which we are responsible.
for which from the county that they come from. We're not responsible for them. State
No,
is.
I want, yeah, the state's paying for them, but I'd like to know how many dollars they've spent
On Carroll County.
on Carroll County youths that are in detention.
Okay, I'll second it. Any further discussion? All those supporting the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So voted then. Yes, Melissa?
Auditing question. I just
Yeah.
wanted some clarification over the discussions over the last couple of meetings that you
Yeah.
had. So if I understand correctly, there was no money budgeted to
Do it.
do a 10, 11, or 12 audit?
There's money in our budget to do 12,
Okay,
the year 12. That's last year.
right. I mean, you're always a year behind, because you
Right.
have to.
And we approved to audit 11 and 12.
Okay, so was no money appropriated in 2012 to do the 11 audit? And no money in 11 to do the 10 audit? So for the last few years, there was no money appropriated to do.
Yes, there
audits,
was. There was money appropriated each year,
But you just didn't do them?
but it wasn't done.
But it wasn't spent.
Yep.
As I had said last week, I didn't see in the law where, or maybe it was the week before, I lose track. I couldn't find anywhere in the law where counties are required by law to have an audit done. So this expense is not actually required. You're just, I believe you said it was just good business practice. that
It's
you
a
do it.
requirement by, I can't think of the initials.
Gatsby.
It's
Is that what
it's
you're
for the
referring to?
nursing home.
Okay.
In order for them to get,
Medicaid.
I could be wrong, state and federal dollars.
Yeah.
I could be wrong on that. I don't know. I know it's a requirement to have it audited.
But is the work that John Lightford's been doing satisfying that requirement?
He does the financials,
Oh.
not the audit.
He gets the figures from what he told me, he gets the figures in the right columns,
Right.
gets the totals, makes sure it's all in the right place, and then it gets turned over to this GAT or whatever it is, that second level that we have to have done, where it's truly an audit, and then they check that. They
So
check
has-
his work.
Since you haven't had an audit for the past couple of years, has that then affected the funding that's
I
been coming into
believe
the
that,
nursing
I
home?
believe that was new,
This is the first year, I believe.
maybe 2 years, and that's why we're doing 11 and 12.
So why do you have to go back in time? Why can't you start with now, because you appropriated money this year, you're going to do last year's numbers, and from now forward, you're gonna have an annual audit? Why are we going back in time?
Because it might be 2 years old. I don't know.
I just don't
Because
understand.
of,
I can't understand why.
because of the requirement, I believe.
Okay. Is it-
Can't answer that fully, because I don't know that those initials or whatever that organization is that requires them. But it deals with the nursing home, I believe.
Is there any possibility that you could set aside a portion of the commissioners' meeting to have someone come from the Department of Revenue Administration and explain in real people terms, non-financial
They can't do
terms?
that. They can't explain it in real people
Well,
terms.
they do have
They've done it several times. I've listened to it. It's so confusing that it's almost useless. But yeah, we can do that.
I just wonder if
We can
that
do it.
might, they used to have some good people that would come out in the community, in the municipal services division, that their job was to help
Yeah,
counties
Yeah.
and towns
Yeah.
through this
Well,
process.
We
I
could
think
request
the new
that.
requirement is a federal requirement, not a state
But
requirement.
they do address those federal Gatsby requirements in their.
Gatsby.
Gatsby, that's
In
what it
their-
is.
In their
That's what it
rules,
is.
in the DRA rules, if you read them, chapter 2200, I believe, of the administrative rules,
Chapter 200?
2200, it lists out, what the steps are, the levels of that Gatsby, and how you're supposed to code different things. And silly enough, it also says the annual county financial report, it's the responsibility of the clerk of the commissioners to prepare that and submit it, which seems kind of crazy. But that's what you're having John Lightford do now, and what other counties are obviously paying someone to do. But it says in the rules that, which I can't imagine that would work.
I think that's a real good suggestion, Melissa, if Gatsby comes under DRA, get someone to come in here and talk to us about it.
It shows it in their rules, so I would assume they're versed on it. And especially as you're going into the budget season for next year, are we gonna be asking questions again about why certain things weren't done that needed to be?
Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Anybody else, public input? Mr. Brown?
I think I got one of my questions answered out in the hallway while you were in here, non-public, but North Conway Ambulance is a private entity and they're more centrally located to the county than North Conway?
I can't answer that. I believe they've got other areas other than North Conway that they serve.
Well,
They
they're
may have
serving
a s-
Ossipee.
They may, what?
They're serving Ossipee.
Yeah, but they may have a substation.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because, I mean, if you had to wait for an ambulance to
Yeah, I
come
know.
from North Conway to here,
Yeah.
you're probably gonna have some stiffs being carried out of here.
Yeah.
But,
Then we need the paramedic.
then, I heard some concern about a low jail population. Wouldn't having a lower jail population be a good thing and not a bad thing?
I didn't say it was a bad thing. I just was wondering what was happening, because there has been times when we've had 80 people in the jail and now we have 62. Is there some reason for the lower?
Well, it
Is it
just
a time
came
of
across
year?
as that, it came across as a concern that, I don't know, we're not the jail's not
I didn't-
generating enough
well,
revenue? Or?
No, I didn't say it was a concern. I
I
was
didn't-
just asking a question as to, is there a reason for it?
Okay, I didn't say you said, but it came across as it appeared to be a concern.
Okay.
Have we purchased the wood processor yet, and did that go out for bid?
We did purchase the wood processor. Did it go out for bid?
We had the bid from the original one, and we had the one from the person we bought it from. They were not the same. The first one was from up in Vermont.
From Vermont?
Yep.
Okay. Commissioner Babson said we had 2 people that bid on it.
So, was there an actual bid that went out for it?
Can't answer that.
An RFP for it?
We'll have to
Tell
check
me by
with Will.
Next week, we'll check with Will.
Yep.
And I would have the same question with the lawyer who's gonna negotiate the contracts. Did that go out for bid?
No. We selected that person. The vote of the commissioners. Select their representative, attorney, to negotiate with the union. And that was done, and it was in the minutes that were released, and that was Tom Clausen, who negotiated it last year. And I think the feeling was that he is familiar with the union contracts, that he's done it in the past. Prior to him, Tom Flygar, who passed away during the negotiation, the previous negotiations, and Tom came in and handled it.
Do you have any idea what those costs are to pay the attorney to negotiate the contracts?
$250 an hour.
Yeah, I think it's $250 an hour.
I believe last year, was it not 15,000 or
250?
something?
What?
Was it not 15,000 last year that we paid for
I don't know what the
jail
total was.
negotiations?
I don't remember.
I think I believe it's more than 5,000 that we paid for it. I think it should have gone out to bid.
Now, saying it's $250 an hour, when I was the negotiator representing the Board of Commissioners, I tried to reduce the number of meetings that we had. I would like to see that it's negotiated and that it's put into the budget, and not wait until later on when the delegation meets to approve the budget to come in at that point in time to get the approval. I'd like to get it ahead of time so we can put it in our budget and it goes through a lot smoother. Now, that said, it depends on who's negotiating and how long we have to negotiate. If we can do it in 3 meetings, that's great, I think. Now, this year we got 3 unions to negotiate with. I'd also like to see that staggered so that we don't get hit all in one year for a negotiator to negotiate with 3, which means we've got to get one of those unions to go for a 3-year contract or a 2-year contract. Last time, they went with 1-year contract. That's too expensive because we have to hire that attorney back again. They don't have that cost because they have a union represent, they pay their dues. But my idea is to get it through as quick as possible. That is another reason why I want people to read the contracts. I've asked department heads If they've got some changes they want made, we do it right from the beginning. The union comes in, they tell us what they want, we can counteract and say, look, this is what we want, and then we negotiate. Try to reduce the number of meetings, then we reduce the cost. Okay? Anybody else got any public input? Are we all done for today?
I just want to say something about the audits. Commissioner Babson just mentioned we didn't spend anything for the audits. You said it? We didn't spend it, the budget? I think we did spend it. We had $50,000 in for legal and audits. It was paid to John Lyford every year for the financial preparations.
Yeah, it was paid to John Lyford, but
So we-
not for.
No, not for the audit. So we did spend it. $50,000
It's for legal, it's
a year.
on the legal.
That is on the legal
fees.
and audits. It said legal
Yeah.
and audits.
Yep. Okay, anything else?
No?
No?
No.
I hear a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion that we adjourn?
I'll second it. Any further discussion?
Did you make a, mention that we seal the minutes from the non-public?
Yeah, I did mention
Yeah,
that we
he said
seal
it
them in,
to
didn't I?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're taking action on those requests that came in
There were three.
last week, 3 requests. 2 of them, I think, are already done. A third one is going to take us a little bit longer to go back and get the documents necessary to fulfill the request. All those in support of the motion to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. Then so voted. Thank you all for attending.